Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. And my name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky, and I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. Today with me are Gil Makleff, who's the co-founder of Sembly AI, and Michael Weis, who's the director of business development for SPS. And we'll find out what those are when they introduce themselves. So Gil, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a couple of words about what Sembly AI does?
Sure. I'm excited to be here today, first of all, because we're coming out with a brand new feature. It's happened frequently in the past, but I feel that, in the space that we're in, which is outcome-based meeting platform, which is intended to improve capabilities at the enterprise level, as well as the small company environments. We're introducing new technology very frequently, and we're very intimately involved with users and providing solutions for them that are very, very impactful, transformational. Specifically, I'm excited about a deep internal IP that we developed, and we combined it with ChatGPT, and it's coming Monday, and it allows you to say, give me the 5 key points from the meeting, write an email to my team, and do it in less than 172 words. Boom. So that's who we are, but I'll share more as we continue the conversation.
Excellent. And Michael, tell me a little bit more about speech processing solutions.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Great to be here. My name is Michael, and I'm responsible for business development within Philips speech processing, which means that we're looking for new technology. I mean, we're in the market for more than 70 years now in the dictation industry. So that's in legal, in medical. But of course, we also want to expand and make use of AI capabilities. And it's a very exciting time. I mean, Gil just mentioned what's coming up next week. So it's really very fast evolving. We're just coming from a conference with Nuance and Microsoft. So indeed, it's a very exciting time, and it's great to be part of the journey.
Excellent. So let's dive into the topic, which is about hybrid work and remote work and AI. And tell me a little bit more about your vision of how AI is impacting the world of hybrid work and remote work. So let's start with Gil, and then Michael, maybe you can share your perspective as well.
So it's really interesting. I'll try and be specific. I think, hybrid work, remote work, on the one side are the employers, and the employers have excellent access to a much wider pool of candidates that they're looking for. Their real estate costs, especially I can indicate on our company, have been reduced. And really, it's because of the convenience for employees, there's better retention. From an employee perspective, I will highlight the first one is work-life balance. It's people have an easier time if they have a dinner with family or something. It's not a problem. They can send their agent to a meeting and they can have the dinner with the family, and they're not missing out. People in meetings can actually focus on the meeting, and they don't have to take notes and miss important parts or not have a dialogue with the other side because they're afraid of missing information. And this whole environment is reducing the fear of missing out. Now, I think a few important challenges that come up in this environment are that team cohesion is really important. So being remote and being hybrid environment, it's okay, but you have to remember to take into account team cohesion. The second thing is that the infrastructure, and this is where the Philips Speech and Sembly AI collaborate really well. The companies need to be responsible for the technology that employees have, and the quality of sound. If you can't understand me on a meeting, the AI won't be able to understand me either. That we discovered that early on. So the sound quality is very important, and the excellence that Philips speech brings to the table, combined with the excellence from Sembly, is an important dimension of that point. The last point is protocols and governance. We are implementing large accounts now, and there are simple questions that need to be answered, like who needs to get the meeting invite, because collaboration is much better in these environments, which means if somebody can attend without being in the meeting actually, but can get the information, you're reducing the fear of missing out, of course, but you're also creating an environment where there's a lot more information. So when does a manager get the information? It's a question of internal procedures, how you deal with this new technology. You need to have a governance team that manages this whole process. It's not a simple, trivial, here's something new, do it. It doesn't work that way. It has to be aligned with corporate culture, et cetera. There are a lot of different dimensions, but I just wanted to mention those three as really important ones.
I think that's a good point, Gil. And I mean, you also mentioned the point about the hardware. And I mean, what we experienced when hybrid working started in Europe, but also in the US, is that companies at the first step was very easy. Okay, stay at home, take your laptop and start working. But very soon companies realized it's really important to have the right technology at home, but of course also in the office. Because when we talk about hybrid working, it always means some people are in the office and some people are working from home. So therefore, it's really key to have the technology there, making sure easy connecting, available from home or on the go, meaning that we have microphones which are well suited for a home office, others more for a meeting room when we have 10, 12 people. So therefore, it's indeed what we saw. It's a let's say phase approach. Phase one was just, okay, get your laptop home and be sure that you have a platform, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google installed. And now we see, of course, that people are really having a nice home office and a better equipped home office, because it's important to be also productive there. Because what we also learn is it's a lot about the type of activity. I mean, checking your emails, working on the emails, you can easily make at home. But of course, if you talk about creative work, it's better to be in the office and work together, or using technology who can support this collaboration from working from a distance. So therefore, I think it's great to work together with Sembly, having technology, the hardware, having the software together, and have a very good onboarding experience for the people and offering a complete solution to the market.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this collaboration and the idea of missing out that you brought up. How does that work out? So I can send your agent to the meeting, but of course, you're not going to be able to influence the meeting. So I've helped 23 organizations by now figure out their long-term hybrid work and remote work arrangements. This is definitely a concern with the ability to influence, and especially in hybrid meetings, when some people are present remotely, some people are actually in the office. The people who are in the office are, unless there's specific training, which I do a number of trainings and norm setting, etiquette, and good technology, unless you have that, the people who are coming in remotely are inevitably going to be a second-class citizen. So I can very well imagine that someone who sends their agent to the meeting would be more of a third-class citizen because they can only get notes, they can't really participate. Help me understand how that sort of problem would be addressed.
I can take that. I can start with that because I think it's a really interesting point. First of all, my background is in management consulting as well as technology, so I've dealt with these issues. I think you need to rethink or reimagine what a meeting is, because if you really believe that the meeting is what it used to be, it's a meeting between walls or even virtually, but it lasts for that 1 hour or one half hour, then maybe you're right. Maybe you're 100% right, you know, third-class citizens, etc. But if you reimagine it, if you think of it differently, which means if you think of, for example, Sembly technology together with Philip's speech has the capability of letting you send a bookmark to a participant with a question over Slack or MS Teams, or so you're integrated into the customer ecosystem and you allow the dialogue of the meeting to continuously, you're moving from a binary meeting to a continuous environment, which is a different way of thinking of a meeting. And you're able to do it with specificity, which means you go to a very specific statement that was commented by someone, and you're allowed to share that with others in a very collaborative, over channels, over very collaborative environment. So you're not necessarily a second-class citizen, because if you have the quality that Sembly AI provides in terms of quickly going through, we talk about minutes to the hour, which means you're able to very quickly get through the information, absorb it, and actually continue the collaboration. We found that not only is there more collaboration, which is focused, et cetera, but you're also reducing the number of meetings, because you don't have to create a new meeting for a very trivial small topic that could be resolved very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a good point as well, because what I learned when using Sembly, but also when talking to our clients, and currently we're distributing the solution mainly in the US, but coming up now in France. And we see, for example, what is key, what is, of course, like you mentioned, Gleb, the meeting itself. But what is also important, what happens after the meeting. And the sharing of information is a key element of following up actions, or following up key items. And there I see Sembly as a great tool, making this very transparent, so that everybody is involved. We are sometimes also talking about meeting equality, so that everybody has the same information and access to information. And therefore, a tool like Sembly can definitely help, because you have a very nice functionality to share among the participant of the meeting, but also with others, and even better, like Gil just mentioned, to integrate it in already existing tools which you're using in the companies. Is it Slack or other platforms? So therefore, you don't even need to change your way of working when applying this new technology. And I think that's a very strong element. As mentioned before, it's about education, it's about transparency. But of course, we all know if you come to a new tool, the first reaction of many employees, okay, it's another new tool. We have so many new tools. So therefore, it's very important to not change your way of working, and that the software and the hardware is part of your normal way of working.
So it sounds like the Sembly AI, the tools, SPS, collaboration, the AI assistant would not allow you to impact the meeting in person in progress, but it would allow you to get information afterward and to continue the conversation. And right. And so you're saying that it would be integrated into current tools. And I definitely, with my clients, I mean, they definitely complain. They have, in the larger clients, of something like 80 apps they need to work on. And so they definitely don't want another one. That would be a big change management ask. But you still need to change the culture, because right now there's a certain approach. I mean, I work with clients to figure out their meeting protocols, and different people have different preferences in communication: email, Slack, meetings. Does this need to be a meeting? Can this be a voicemail? Can this be a video recording that you send? So where does the education come in on using this new tool? Because it's still a change management in practice and habits. Tell me a little bit about that.
Maybe I jump here on that one. I think out of my experience, and I think that's what we have learned in the past. And again, I remember when COVID hit us, everybody went on, let's say, MS Teams or Zoom. And what happens then very quickly is that if people are not in the call because they're traveling or on holiday, we of course recorded all the meeting. But what happened then, that after the holiday, when you came back, you had hours and hours and hours of meeting to watch. And at the end, if you have a busy schedule, it's nearly impossible to again watch the whole meeting. I mean, sometimes you're double booked, triple booked, so therefore it's not even impossible. It's not even possible to watch this. So therefore, indeed, it's about education, and therefore what is important is, of course, to show the added value to the solution. And that's also why Sembly and Philip's speech work together. It's about efficiency. I mean, you're not using these tools because they're so cool or they're so sexy. You're using this tool in order to improve your way of working, gain efficiency. It's the same with dictation, what we're doing the last 70 years. A doctor is using dictation because it's about efficiency. It's quicker to talk than to type. And that's very similar, I think, with that tool here. But yes, you agree. It has to come with education, and there have to be certain rules. I mean, like email rules or meeting rules. And indeed, there are also rules for joining a meeting or meeting culture, as you say. But again, it's at the beginning, everybody was recording and meeting, and then you had 10 hours of meeting recording, which you had to look, and nobody is doing this. So therefore, AI jumps in, Sembly jumps in order to provide that efficiency gain, which is the same asset what we are providing to our clients.
Yeah, what I would do, I would just add to that, what I would do in your case with clients, I would probably create a concept of a COE, not an overhead, but in our case, we were doing it with workspace managers. So every account has a number of workspaces. Each workspace is a grouping, and those are the practitioners that share with their team on an ongoing basis value drivers, because they're going to continue coming out. It's amazing the pace, and it's going to continue. So setting the framework for that in a COE style, Center of Excellence style, is a helpful way of doing it.
Excellent. Well, I think that makes it much more clear the value and how my clients and other folks would get value out of this collaboration. Are there any last words that you wish to share about the collaboration or anything about hybrid work as we wrap up the podcast?
No, I think, Michael, you can talk a little about this, both of us. We've been working on the quality of the voice and the jointly, but Sembly more on the software side and Philips more on the hardware side. And that dynamic is very helpful. For example, we discussed this in, I don't know if you're familiar with the voice overlap issue, and I'll let Michael say a few words on it, because we did spend time on this to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, I think one exciting new element here of this cooperation is that, as I mentioned also before, that we still have, of course, dictation as a main driver. But of course, if you talk about the meeting, it's a completely way of recording voice. Right? It's about long distance, it's about actually different distances. People are walking around maybe. It's about pop noises, wind noises. And of course, at the end, AI is great, but of course, the audio signal must also be great. And the better the audio signal, the better it's for the AI, and the better for the transcript, and less manual working or working after Sembly has created the meeting protocols. So therefore, yeah, we are working on different technology. One was, of course, diarization. Who said what? There are a lot of platforms out there where you have to say how many meeting participants are in the meeting. Otherwise, it's very difficult to handle it. In Sembly, is no need, because we are working with special array technology, microphone technology, where the speaker is being identified during the meeting, meaning that independently, you don't need to say how many persons are joining the meeting. It depends, 3, 5. The system is recognizing it together with the hardware. Or when 2 people are talking at the same time, that's a huge challenge for every software. I mean, in a meeting, you're very cultivated. You don't talk while we are talking, and the other way around. But in some countries in Europe, it might be different, where 2 or 3 people are talking at the same time, and that can be a huge challenge, which was not there in the dictation area, because dictation, you do it on your own. You have the dictation, that's it. But of course, Sembly is creating and adding a lot of value here on the software side. And I also would like to close my statement here that, of course, for us being in the market for 70 years, we also gain a lot of new insights on startup companies working in an agile world in a very competitive environment and still bringing new features to the market. I mean, Gil just mentioned ChatGPT. Everybody talks about it, but at the end, it's also key. How can it add value? Again, add value to the proposition. Just having ChatGPT integrated does not add value. So therefore, it's important to come. What does it mean for the solution, and at the end for the end customer, for the user? That's for us always the key element.
And also, Dr. Tsipursky, if you can allow me, do we have a few more minutes? I just
yes.
Yeah. So I think that what you're going to see going forward, and what we see in the future going forward, is interesting. And what do I mean interesting? I think there's a lot about content, the content of the meeting. That's one dimension that we're getting to do a lot more about. I mentioned a use case at the beginning of this call, etc. The second dimension that you can think of is metadata. Who participated? How long was the meeting? How much did the team spend in meetings this month? How are we doing today versus before we implemented AI technology? Those types of things, very, very interesting. And the third dimension is really downstream integration, or the way we call it at Sembly, synchronization, because I think that's an area which has many unsolved computer science problems, i.e., and we can talk about that in the next podcast, but it's a very interesting space. And I think that our leadership in this space is something that we would like to share with others going forward. So those three dimensions, in addition to the, our joint platform is cross-conference platform. So the solution that our companies have is cross-platform. It focuses on synchronization, which is the concept of adapting. So my vision of the future is that magically things appear where they need to appear. So you go into a meeting and the words that you use are very important. And once you use those words, a to-do list shows up in the to-do place. A task shows up in your project management system. So all these different dimensions are going to be implemented seamlessly, and that's a future that's not too far away, I believe. It's interesting how fast we're moving in that direction. And generative AI is helping, and it's the focus that Philip's speech and Sembly AI are taking is really on working teams, as small as they are, small working teams, but also enterprise level working teams. And it's a very exciting environment to be part of today.
Excellent. Thank you, Gil. And thank you, Michael. That was very helpful. And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you check this out and leave a review. It's really helpful for other folks to discover the show and helps us improve the show. All right, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.
Thank you, Gleb. Have a good afternoon.